Brexit. Some people love it, others hate it. Others voted for it, but now they re-Grexit. And China is happy to just let the chaos reign. Welcome back to China Uncensored. I'm Chris Chappell. In 2016, British citizens voted whether to remain in the European Union or to exit. British exit. Brexit. By less than 4 percentage points, Brits chose to Brexit. It came as a surprise, including to some people who voted for it. It seems like big surprises were a trend in politics that year. But the unexpected outcome forced the Prime Minister to resign. And the new Prime Minister has had a hard time figuring out how to actually make Brexit happen, because her proposals keep getting rejected. But you know who loves all the chaos?
Upset the established order, and everything becomes chaos. I'm an agent of chaos.
I was going to say the Chinese Communist Party loves the chaos, but close enough. Anyway, my favorite Chinese state-run media, the Global Times, wants you to know that the real problem isn't whether people voted for or against Brexit. No, the real problem is democracy. Good news, though, China's Belt and Road Initiative can help Britain heal its Brexit wounds. And that surprisingly transparent Chinese state-run media article helps us see exactly what the Communist Party is trying to do in the wake of Brexit. To be the rebound relationship. Okay, and also divide and conquer. The European Council on Foreign Relations seems to understand this. They say China is ready to take advantage of a divided Europe and weakened UK after Brexit. In this special issue called China and Brexit, What's in it for us? The analysts at the Council on Foreign Relations say that most of the losses from Brexit will hit the European Union or the United Kingdom or both, while China will get most of the gains. One of the ways the Chinese regime expects to benefit is that with Britain outside the EU, China might be able to negotiate new trade deals directly with the UK. China is very keen to deal with EU nations separately rather than as a bloc, one researcher told CNN. She says that China has the upper hand in dealing with individual countries because of China's much larger economy. Europe's trade advantage comes from acting together. See, the European Union, as a united bloc, has recently been pushing back against the Chinese regime's unfair practices. These issues are spelled out in a rolling document called the EU's Anti-Subsidy and Safeguard Activities. The European Union has gradually come to realize that the vast majority of the unfair competition facing Europe comes from China. For example, China subsidizes steel production and then exports that steel at such low prices that it shuts other competitors out of the market. This is called dumping. So Europe put in anti-dumping measures. And of all the 120 anti-dumping measures in force at the end of 2018, the report says, China was targeted with 85. The next closest was Russia with just 9. Which is to say, China was nearly 10 times more successful at dumping than Russia. Yeah, can Putin do this? But with Britain leaving the EU, China hopes to negotiate a bilateral trade agreement directly with the UK. That way, it can flood the UK with cheap Chinese goods even when the rest of Europe rejects them. Weirdly, the British government does not see what's coming. Just a year after the British people voted to leave the EU, the British government hailed a new phase in golden era for UK-China relations. British officials promised to build a truly global Britain, and that the strong and growing relationship with China would deliver benefits for both countries. Promises were made, and awkward photos were taken. But the golden era of UK-China relations has never materialized as it was envisioned, and it probably never will. Why? Because ultimately, the UK does not really matter much to China. Even worse, as a trade partner, Britain ranks below Australia. Britain ranks lower than Australia, but Britain practically created Australia. That's like saying Marmite ranks lower than Vegemite, when the truth is, they're both terrible. Okay, my analogy fell apart there at the end. Sorry. The point is, most of the Chinese regime's vows to increase imports of British goods were just empty promises. Like when NYU promised I'd have a successful career if only I'd pay for a 2-year master's degree. And now I'm deeply in debt because I chose to pursue my dream of hosting a YouTube show with an unprofitable perspective on China. What's that, Shelley? Yes, as opposed to a lucrative career in classical music composition. Speaking of being in debt, Chinese leaders have been further trying to divide and conquer Europe by going after the most delicious country in the region, Italy. China promised to totally buy more Italian goods, and then they got Italy to be the first Western European nation to officially join the Belt and Road Initiative. It's going to be a win-win, but only for China.
So I don't think it's going to bring more to Italy. For China, it's a huge win because, one, it shows indeed, like was said, that a G7 country is now part of the Belt and Road Initiative, which is a major political win. Secondly, it shows actually the weakening of the US influence very clearly. And third, it shows clear European fragmentation.
So Italy's move to join the Belt and Road Initiative is just another sign that the Chinese regime's divide and conquer strategy is working. And later this month, Chinese leaders will be visiting Croatia for the annual 16+1 summit. 16+1 is a group of 16 Eastern European countries plus China. And China wants to drive them away from the European Union too. I mean, what leader of a small nation that we can't even place on a map wouldn't want to be friends with China? So when it comes to the UK, there may be disagreement whether Brexit is good or bad for the country's future with respect to Europe. But it is clear that the Chinese regime is taking full advantage of the opportunity. The good news is, even as the Chinese regime tries to divide and conquer Europe, one of its unlikeliest leaders is refusing to surrender.
We put ourselves in a situation where Chinese investment have taken over strategic infrastructure and the network assets. The time for European naivete is over.
Go get 'em, France. What's that, Shelley? France just signed a multi-billion-dollar deal with China? So what do you think about China leveraging Brexit to advance its strategy in Europe? Leave your comments below. And now, it's time for me to answer a question from one of you, a fan who supports China Uncensored with $1 or more per episode by contributing through Patreon. Text Dude asks, someone told me China made debt collection illegal. Is that true? What happens to a Chinese citizen who doesn't pay their debts? Good question, Text Dude. It's not illegal to collect debt in China. But sometimes it's not that easy to collect, since China's rule of law is not robust. So Chinese people and companies use creative methods to collect what's owed, from shaming people in front of their neighbors, to using violence, to even sending people infected with HIV to sit in people's homes to scare them until they pay up. And that's not all. Over a dozen middle-aged women in central China's Henan province have been sentenced up to 11 years in jail for using violence and abuse to force people to pay back their debts. And if you're wondering why the loan sharks hired middle-aged Chinese women instead of a few tough guys in tracksuits named Joey, clearly you haven't met any Chinese aunties. They're the only thing I'm terrified of, other than pandas. So none of these thuggish debt collection methods are good, either for the debtor or the debtee. But there's just not a very good civil court system to resolve these issues. I guess that's what happens in a country ruled by the biggest thug of all, the Chinese Communist Party. Thanks for your question, Text Dude. And thank you for watching China Uncensored. Once again, I'm Chris Chappell. See you next time.